Hey YouTubers, it's me, Lonnie Clark again, That's for Art, and I am back. Um, Thanks for hanging in there with us. We really appreciate everybody who joins our channel. As you know, on this channel, we bring people up to speed about the threats of the nuclear contamination, and this year I've decided we're going to start expanding out into other types of contamination, which was on the behest of one of my viewers, and I think he's exactly right, that they all go together. It's really just about the technologists taking over and just refusing to be uh, thoughtful brokers. You know, they're honest brokers. They tell us what the chemicals are, or many times they do. It gets found out, but not much happens. And as we've seen, lots of the regulations have been rolled back. Our environment really is under siege again right now. But I thought I'd read to you an article that I read on my radio show. So many of you who listen to my show, this might be a repeat, but I'm going to bring it here because this was a really important article, and there's some commentary along the way. There's another thing that there's kind of two stories that I may bring you, but the first one we'll start with is this story called "Forever Chemical" for the Forever Chemicals. I did read it on my YouTube, on my radio show, not my YouTube channel. This is the YouTube channel. Here we are. And this is the article I hope we can get to. Are toxic chemicals at the Air Force Base leading to cancer and low birth rate? But I think we can read this, and then maybe tomorrow night I'll read this one. But this is very interesting, this article. This is a quick article, and I want to show you this because I found this on the opinion page, right? And very often articles are on the opinion page. But then look what happened. I was looking for other chemical stories, and here it is on The Nation. The same identical story. I mean, verbatim. I talked about it directly. And this guy, Joseph G. Allen, is indeed the person who wrote this. So it's the same Joseph G. Allen. This was published on January 2nd. This was published, opinion, January 9th. Oh, let me go back and make sure I remember to share, present to everyone. Hold on. There, now everybody can see it. And I think we'll read, well, maybe we'll read this one because the print is easier for me to read. These chemicals are everywhere, even in your body, and they won't ever go away. And in fact, interestingly enough, even in your body, they say nothing lasts forever. This is very interesting, the way they reframe this on The Nation. This is the first time I've seen an actual story in The Nation. Now, this is not on there. Look, it's in their top news, right? It's the Thailand portal. The internet is such a weird thing. I don't really quite understand all this stuff, but I know for a fact it was published originally on the Washington Post on the 2nd of January 2nd, 2018. Joseph G. Allen is an assistant professor at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and faculty advisor to the Harvard Healthier Building Materials Academy. They say nothing lasts forever. Nothing, that is, except a group of toxic chemicals that may be associated with testicular cancer, kidney cancer, high cholesterol, and suppression of vaccine effectiveness in children. They are now in nearly all of our bodies and found in the air and water around the globe, and they never go away. They are forever chemicals. These are stain-repellent chemicals that we use in products throughout our homes, offices, schools, hospitals, cars, and airplanes. They are characterized by a fluorocarbon backbone. The FC bond, the forever chemical bond, is quite amazing, representing one of the strongest bonds in all of organic chemistry. When several FC bonds are strung together, some really useful industry properties appear, including allowing air to pass through while blocking things such as grease, oil, and dirt. This ability to act as a stain repellent is why we apply them to all sorts of products we like to keep clean, from carpets and furniture to camping gear. It is also why we apply it to non-stick cookware. Almost nothing can stick to the pan when we have a layer of these chemicals on the surface. But this property comes with a pernicious dark side. The FC bond is so strong that these chemicals never fully degrade, like for millennia ever. Forever chemicals have been used in products since the 1940s, and to confuse things only as scientists can, the terminology around these chemicals is so precise as to be useless. You might have heard them referred to as stain repellent compounds or highly fluorinated chemicals. For years, many called them by their infamous toxic poster child C8, referring to the 8 carbon forever chemicals, PFOA and PFOS. The most recent technical name for the forever chemicals we are talking about, the ones in consumer products and building materials, are perfluorinated or polyfluorinated alkyl substances, or PFASs. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? There is another set of forever chemicals called hydrofluorocarbons, but that we are not talking about here. They are used as refrigerants, and because they are potent greenhouse gases, they are being phased out of use under the latest amendment of the Montreal Protocol. It might be one thing if forever chemicals stayed put once in our consumer products and building materials, but that's simply not the case. Forever chemicals escape from the products we put them in and from the industrial facilities that produce them. The latest high-profile forever chemical to come under scrutiny is Gen X, a nonstick chemical in cookware that Chemours, the manufacturers behind Teflon, was allegedly discharging into Cape Fear River, the drinking water source for hundreds of thousands of people in North Carolina. We now find forever chemicals all over the globe, from the blood of polar bears to the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I guess I could click on these links to see if there's different stories. I have to admit, I have not done that. So let's do that as I move along. Okay. We also find them inside all of us. And the most recent survey of the U.S. population, one set of these forever chemicals showed up in the blood of more than 98% of Americans. My colleagues published a paper in 2016 showing that 6 million Americans have these chemicals in their drinking water above the safe limit set by the Environmental Protection Agency. That might be an underestimate, because regulators are considering lowering that limit. Public health scientists often describe the wicked game of replacing one harmful chemical with the equally harmful chemical as a regrettable substitution. How do you like that? A regrettable substitution. Let's click on that. But forever chemicals are worse. We don't swap one for one. They are more like weeds in a garden. As soon as we remove one from the market, 10 more appear. We have largely eliminated the use of PFOA and PFOS, but there are thousands of new variants of the forever chemicals in use. And it may get worse. In every chemical with a carbon-hydrogen bond, the fundamental unit of organic chemistry, you can theoretically replace the H with an F, creating a forever chemical. Thus, the number of forever chemicals that can be made is close to infinite. Scientists could study these indefinitely and not make any progress. It's job security that I don't want. We need a market solution to these problems. Thankfully, there is already Thankfully, there is already action across several sectors. In the healthcare industry, Kaiser Permanente announced in 2016 that it is banning the forever chemicals in furniture and materials in its building projects. Manufacturers Herman Miller and Shaw are offering products without them as well. Even consumer product retailers are getting involved. Columbia Sportswear partnered with hip-hop artist Macklemore in 2016 to introduce a rain jacket that added with no added forever chemicals. I bet you guys were like me. We didn't know that these chemicals were in our rain jackets. Universities have a role to play too. Harvard recently announced new green building standards requiring that we no longer purchase furniture and other materials containing forever chemicals. We are using our campus as a living laboratory to test out better products and create scientific evidence that demonstrates that when we act, we can improve an environmental quality in our buildings. Collectively, from all sectors, we need to send clear market signals that we all want products that adhere to green science principles, such as designing for denigration, because nothing should last forever, including our patients. Wow. Go back here. Hold on just a second. Sorry, you guys, I had to cough. So I'm going to go back and let's see what we can pick up here. Oh, this was an article I found, but let's go back to see what this says. The Gen X. Ooh, North Carolina sues company accused of polluting Cape Fear River. When was this? This was September 5th, 2017. I think I will bookmark it and we'll come back to this since I don't want to have a big, gigantic, long thing. Oh, Circumpolar Study of I can't say it, perfluoroalkyl contaminants in polar bears. Oh, that is so sad. Maybe we can read this. Oh, let's see, view in the PDF. I don't think this is just the abstract. Wow. Perfluoroalkyl substances were determined in liver tissues and blood of polar bears from 5 locations in the North American Arctic and 2 locations in the European Arctic. Concentrations of PFOSs, perfluorohexane sulfonate, heptachloroethane sulfonamide, and perfluoroalkyl carboxylates with C8 minus C15. I have no idea how to say those words, you guys, because those are logarithms. Perfluorinated carbon chains were determined using liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry. Wow. Obviously, way too scientific for me to even comprehend what I'm reading. I could struggle through the words, but I don't think I could even get there. This was an article that I found earlier. Okay. Stop playing whack-a-mole with hazardous chemicals. Again, Joseph Allen. This was December 15, 2016. So that was a year ago. He seems to be on the same old drumming the same drum. Here we are writing stories in the Washington Post again. And here we are, another pretty technical thing. That's the Nation article. This is the story I wanted to get to. Are toxic chemicals at Air Force bases leading to cancer and low birth rate? This was January 8, 2018. I think we will come back and read this. And what does this say? Oh, this was pretty interesting. Talk about chemical and oil spills. I think we'll talk about that tomorrow. For 25 years, Dan Cruz delivered mail to the Peterson Air Force Base and drank the water. Then came cancer, thyroid, prostate, testicular. He said never before seen in his family. I'm the only one that's been diagnosed with cancer not once, not twice, but 3 times. People on my route, cancer has come upon them, and sometimes stage 4. Cruz told CBS News correspondent Barry Peterson. The cause could be firefighting foam used since the 1970s at Air Force bases and airports across the country, something meant to save lives that may have harmed them instead. The foam contains highly fluorinated chemicals known as PFCs. It is suspected of causing some cancers and underweight births. Micah Ullum lives near Peterson Air Force Base for a quarter of a century, in a town where the foam has contaminated the water. Sadie, one of 3 children born to Micah, was born premature, weighing a mere pound 6 ounces. She spent 94 days in the neonatal intensive care unit. Micah's other 4 pregnancies ended in miscarriage or death. With what you know, do you think this has to do with the potential effects of what's in the water? Peterson asked. Possibly, yeah, Ullum responded. Why? Because if you continue to pump poison into your body, something has to respond, Ullum said. Peterson is one of 190 Air Force bases where PFCs may have leached in the ground and surrounding area. One study on EPA's test results show as many as 6 million people may be exposed nationwide to PFCs in their drinking water at higher levels than the EPA now deems. That's an interesting thing. I'm curious about this because 6 million people. That was the same number used in that story that I read from the Business Insider. I used to reference it all the time in my YouTube videos. That was the same amount of people that are exposed to nitrates and what was the story about tritium? Tritium and nitrates, 6 million people. More than 60,000 people in the community near Peterson Air Force Base may be America's hardest hit. The EPA has said over 70 parts per trillion could be dangerous. Some water they tested there had over 1,300 parts per trillion. Additionally, according to a proposed class action lawsuit filed against the foam manufacturer, it has caused serious medical conditions in hundreds of residents. One foam manufacturing company, 3M, said there is no merit in the health claims, adding that they sold these products with instructions regarding. Oh, hold on just one second. Yeah. They sold these products with instructions regarding their safe use and disposal, acted responsibly at all times, and will vigorously defend this lawsuit. But the Air Force has responded, spending more than $4 million to provide bottled water and filtration systems. Air Force firefighters now train with water, and for real fires, it uses different fluorinated foam, still containing another type of PFCs, but believed to be safer. But some of those who have studied the new foam say the Air Force may have traded one evil for another. Our chemical regulation system makes us all guinea pigs because chemicals are assumed safe until proven guilty, and they go out into the world, and we are exposed to them with no health information, said Arlene Bloom, researcher of the University of California, Berkeley. Mark Carell is Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Environmental Safety and Infrastructure. Is it possible that you've replaced this with something that could still have long-term problems down the road? Peterson asked him. I've got to rely on the Environmental Protection Agency and on the health agencies to tell us whether or not that's going to be a problem in the future, Correll said. But for now, we're going to treat it as if it were any other hazardous material, so we can prevent contamination in the groundwater and in the soil by cleaning it up immediately, Correll said. Why would you do that if it's deemed to be safe? Peterson asked. What we're saying is that these still are chemicals that have potentially toxic side effects, Correll said. Cruz worries more illnesses may lie ahead because of something as ordinary as a drink of water. If someone told you 25 years ago and you had never had any of this water, do you think you'd be healthy now and not going through these cancers? Peterson asked him. I think I would have been perfectly healthy. I don't believe that I've gotten any of I don't believe that I would have gotten any of the cancers at all, Cruz said. This area will be part of the federal study of contamination near military bases around the country, which will hopefully outline just how bad and how far this contamination may have reached into the lives of millions of people. All rights reserved, CBS Interactive, Inc., 2018. And as a reminder, I am reading these stories really as a way to just share this information with our viewers and for people who don't read. So this is meant as no infringement of copyright. And I have put the article links in my description box here. But I think it's important for us to start connecting all the dots ourselves. Because when I first got into this, when I first started making this YouTube channel, I read this fabulous book, which I will still recommend to everyone, Poison Power by Dr. John Goffman. It's a super awesome book. There is a whole thing, and I might actually reread this again, but I'm not going to reread it for at least a couple months, mostly because I want to get a lot more integration on the concept that it's not just nuclear poison, it is chemical poison. And I don't know, I'm hoping that we'll be able to see a trend or a pattern or a theme as to why this has happened in our country and around the world. But it seems to have started here, where our country has just like full-born gone straight ahead, like these forever chemicals. They were introduced in the 40s. Is it a coincidence that it was introduced at the same time that the nuclear contamination was introduced? I don't think so. And what's the major point? There's many people. Someone commented on a video the other day that I did a long time ago, that they're doing it intentionally, that the powers that be have the power to dig themselves and burrow themselves in the ground and protect themselves, that they're doing this intentionally to, quote, cull the population. I sort of refuse to call it culling, because isn't that what we do to farm animals? Like, I'm not going to allow myself to be deemed a farm animal, as much as Donald Trump and his cohorts all actually think that we people without money are nothing and we are completely disposable. So anyways, I encourage you guys to put your courage feet on, take action, pay attention, and I'll be back tomorrow night. I'm making an effort not to keep this too long. I have no idea how long this is. I'll end up seeing it when I stop the broadcast. Kind of an experiment to see if I could read 2 stories at once. So put your courage feet on, you guys, and remember to like our subscriptions and become a subscriber. We're making an effort to get to 1,000 subscribers, and we are going to just ignore the naysayers because that's not our audience. And hopefully we give people some courage to face these things and understand why they're getting sick, because it's not really your fault. We're living in a contaminated environment. So, ciao, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.